So basically the people that are here all run exchanges, and if I can ever get this so that it's viewing. Okay. We're going to be giving some updates. I asked the exchange people to specifically talk about what they're doing with 10 gig and with IPv6. So we'll get a little feel for how much usage people are doing exchanges. Hold on, I just restarted it.
I don't have a Mac. If there's anybody that knows how to turn the Mac into a presentation PowerPoint.
No, sometimes what you have to do though is you have to like restart it because it recognizes an on-start.
It's a Mac, huh?
It's an old Mac. I was told by someone that I need a new laptop. Here we go. I will speed talk as soon as it comes up.
Fill out your survey.
You can even fill out that the speaker shouldn't use old laptops. I don't know. I'm a really horrible joke teller, so I'm not even going to try.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this joke, right? And this is part. I'm not Bill Norton, so don't. If you've been on NANOG for a while, don't. This is not a Bill Norton joke. Long time ago, there were these routers that were fairly popular in the internet community called Cisco AGSs. All those who have been scarred for life by an AGS, right? Okay. One cut you there. So Jay's actually like physically scarred. Besides the fact that they made excellent white noise generators and would clear out any of the debris on my desk from the exhaust, AGSs had this small problem where they didn't really have all that much memory. And there were several early days when people were kind of concerned because, oh my goodness, we're approaching 64,000 routes. What are we going to do? In early days, there was some enterprising folks at an ISP who decided that it would be appropriate to act on behalf of many of the other ISPs without their consent or their knowledge by being helpful. And for a period of time, to reduce things, these guys injected a route into the default system for 128/3. Anybody remember this? Anybody hurt by that you remember? Should we do that again? No? Bad idea? It was a lot of fun seeing people's reactions to that and seeing what would come out of that. It did probably give us an extra couple of weeks on the AGS, but I don't know that it was really worth it. It would be kind of interesting to see what happens when somebody does that again. So anyway, now that my sad story from history has gone by, Celeste, it's yours.
Okay, well, I'm going to start out because it turns out I used a background that takes the longest to load, so I'll get the pain out of the way early. I'm here. I run the Los Angeles Access Point Exchange, which is currently connected to a whole lot of different facilities downtown. But what I'm announcing here is our cooperation with Scenic and Pacific Northwest Gigapop to join the exchanges between the LA area and Seattle. So basically we're combining efforts and tentatively have said we hope this will be operational summer 2004. The interesting thing is that this will help foster the people who only have enough money to touch down one place on the Pacific coast, but then they can get peers who may be local to a different area. So here, okay. So basically, our little graphic here is there's two different exchanges. They'll be connected by a 10 gig Lambda. via the National Lambda Rail project. Scenic will be supplying some of the resources, National Lambda Rail will be supplying some, and the Pacific Northwest Gigapop will be doing others. And the original implementation will just be LA and Seattle. However, some people have already asked, well, what about San Francisco? What about San Diego? Well, yeah, we're already planning that, but that's not the initial plan to start out. So yes, if you're on the West Coast somewhere, we will get to you somehow. Sacramento also is on the path. The fundamentals, it will be a layer 2 Ethernet-based exchange facility. We're not planning on doing ATM. It will be multicast enabled. All IP traffic types will be supported, and so will jumbo frames. There'll be self-selected and self-configured peerings. The only forced peering you'll have is that if you're on the exchange fabric, you will have to peer with Scenic and with Pacific Northwest Gigapop. Other agreements with anybody else on the exchange fabric will be bilateral peering agreements, or, you know, as you choose to make them. There's no AUP, and as I said, there are other node options. And I did notice that Internet 2 put out a press release and put pacificwave.com, which is not the website, it's pacificwave.net. So if you want to take a look at the press release and information there, or you can also see a little bit on the new www.laap.net, and then there'll be a new page constructed sometime in the near future to go over that. So that's the talk here. What I'm going to ask is that I'm going to try to load these as quickly as possible and then save the questions to the end, because I want to make sure that everybody here gets a chance to present their information. So we're just going to tool along. So Jay, you're next. I'm doing it alphabetical order. Now I just got to figure out which one's yours. I think it's that one. Load. Here we go.
All right, let's forward there.
Just move down.
Jay Adelson, I'm the founder and chief technology officer of Equinix. Jump ahead here. Brief update on where we are. We've expanded to a few more locations around the world. Some of you have been following our merger and acquisition with Honda Pacific and ISTT that was completed at end of 2002, beginning of 2003. Obviously, going forward, we've integrated those sites and continue to move on. Some important points. The existing product set, such as Gigi Exchange, is available in every site. We will be offering some degree of metro-based exchanges in Los Angeles and in Newark, in the New York area. The current locations for Equinix Direct, for those of you familiar with that product, is in San Jose and Ashburn only, with plans to go into Chicago very soon. There are currently on our Gigi product 271 ports that have been allocated to about 123 different customers. That's of the peering type customers who use the switch. We have many type of participants who don't use that product, but most of these 123 are passing traffic, and they're of the total 700 customers at Equinix. What's interesting is how much growth there's been on the Gigi platform in the last year, over 400%. We actually peaked, I think it was last week, over 34 gigs in aggregate traffic on our switching platforms, so that's growing quite nicely. IPv6, very briefly, this is free for Equinix participants to use. That's including cross connections to this separate fabric. We've seen a lot of interest from a lot of different players. It's been growing incredibly fast, but you know, the amount of traffic is still somewhat minimal. That's the reality check. Some interesting players you can see there, some new additions, ESNet, Apple. We see some content providers and some enterprises showing interest in participating in IPv6. We think that that'll be interesting. Also, I heard last night Teleglobe is now going to be on our IPv6 exchange in Ashburn and San Jose as well. If you're interested in IPv6, please send an email to lane@equinix.com or peering@equinix.com. We can give you some more info. 10 gig E. we've been using 10 gig in limited ways. We're using it for trunking between Equinix facilities in metro areas. We also have some experimental relationships with customers. I think the important message here is that we're very committed to upgrading to a 10 gig platform, a different switching fabric than we're currently using by the end of 2004. An RFI went out with a number of very specific feature requests and support requests that we would need, and we have begun the process of evaluating these units. But in the meantime, if you're looking for higher speeds, we have a number of customers link aggregating gigi ports, trunking them together. It's been working quite well. And we still have a couple spots left if anyone wants to test some of our 10 gigi options. So, what do we want from 10 gig going forward? I think it's a lot more than just port density that we're looking for here. I mean, as we move to the 10 gig infrastructure, there's a lot of new features and concepts which we think is important to exchange points, and a number of my colleagues here are probably also finding are really critical to the way that, that we offer our services. Obviously, the density is important, but just really a carrier class switch. We need all those features that we had both for ingress and egress on the ports. You know, the software itself has undergone quite a bit of changes, the ability to fail over extremely quickly. The idea for us, I mean, what we try and do now is have this minimum 6-month window between planned maintenances. The idea that I can do a maintenance, even a planned maintenance, and not take the switch infrastructure down at all is really attractive to me. We have incredible features like that coming from all of the vendors. But most of them, all these features that we asked for, they're really still about 6 months away. So this is going to be a long process for us. Let's move forward. Multicast. We're really excited about where multicast is going. The Chef Farm multicast router now available. We've got over 5,000 multicast routes now available through our multicast exchanges. This is a real easy way to go. Instead of you collecting 120 peers, thanks to the efforts of Greg and others, you know, we have some incredible routes available through our multicast exchanges. It's really a transit opportunity that you can have if you're interested in starting to experiment. Anyway, if you have questions about where we are and where things are going, I'm certainly available via email, but Lane Patterson is really focused on IPv6 and multicast. Feel free to contact him directly, lane@equinix.com. Thank you.
Okay, so Tom's up next. Come on. Open. There we go. Use the arrows.
Hi, I'm Tom Beckley with MCI. I have a responsibility for engineering for May Services. So this first slide talks to the current capabilities and some fairly pending ones. But at this point, the May Services has always functioned as a regional, somewhat distributed exchange, and it's somewhat more distributed at this point. So May East has points of presence in the D.C. area and in New York. The May West is in San Jose and recently in the One Wilshire building, and again, those are one exchange, and Dallas and Chicago. So they basically have vertical slices down the U.S. The provisioning, as participants know, is automated by the participants and provisioned through PeerMaker, the product we used to provision with. The access today is frame, OC3 to OC48 frame relay, ATM for the legacy ATM participants. We'll have GIGI June, July time frame, and this is interworked, so any type of access method will be able to exchange traffic with any other type of access method. And this is as a flat rate service. So this is a picture of what we have today with the current sites in the U.S. in black. We're launching a new service this year, which is called May EXT at this point, and it extends the peering reach of May customers so that customers connect at any of the Mays or any of the exchange points will be able to peer with anyone at any of the other points. And so this is, we believe, will be useful for certain types of customers, MSOs, content providers, regional ISPs, et cetera, that don't necessarily have the need or want or the resources to build out a national backbone, to want to have exposure in other parts of the country. Initially, the access will be OC3, OC12 frame relay or GigE. And again, the participants will be able to self-provision this. So it's going to be established as a usage-based service, as it is basically carrying the traffic across the country or wherever for participants. The plan is to bill 95th percentile on pushed traffic, which would be an interesting thing. But we had a lot of feedback from different people, whether your eyeballs or content, how the model would work best. And so that's where we're going for the traffic between exchange participants. Again, we talk about it initially in the U.S. and plan to expand the coverage to rest of the world as appropriate. The other bit that's rolling out with the May XT is you'll be able to have a connection from an exchange point to get full transit or partial or just AS701 routes, and again that would be on a usage base. And there's certain customers where we receive feedback where this would be a convenient arrangement for them from an access perspective. And then finally, just the exchanges do support V6 today. The address delegations are available from ep.net, or they can be set up as point-to-points. And we do have some participation, primarily at May West, from a V6 perspective. I think that's it.
Hello, this is Itojo Hagino. I will speak on behalf of Akira Kato. So, if you have detailed questions, please send them to Kato at YDDJP. Okay. The name of the exchange is called Dixie, but it is formally called NSPXT2. So we have renamed it because we now have multiple physical locations. We have 100 ports from 80 ISPs at GigE First Ethernet or 10 gig Ethernet. And we are IPv6 ready on the same fabric, same VLAN, and we are using same Ethernet fabric, and we are layer 2X, so we do not care IP versions. And at this point, 13 ISPs are doing IPv6, and 3 out of 13 are using dual stack. I mean, one single port for both IPv4 and IPv6. And as I said, Dixie is the new name for NSPXT2, and the Dixie is short for Distributed IX in Edo. Edo is a former name of Tokyo in the samurai era. So that's the reason for the name of Dixie. And the Dixie is basically a layer 2 extension of NSPXT2, and we have six physical locations. And the project planning started in August 2000, and the initial equipment was installed in March 2001. However, Kato-san is really crazy about the redundancy stuff, and made very complicated design, and it took years to get stable. And finally we launched Dixie in May 2003. And some ISPs appeared since early 2003 as an experimental basis. So this is how Dixie looks like. So we have six locations and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 14 switches, and I don't want to know how they are really connected or how the spanning tree is running, but all of them are in downtown Tokyo, and they are in separate buildings, and these links are either 2 or 4 gigabit Ethernet with the link aggregation, or 10 gigabit Ethernet. And as I said, Kato-san is really into redundancy configuration, so we use redundant configuration with 802.1W. So here's the traffic statistics starting from the 1996, and at the top is 20 gig BPS. And so you see traffic is going up and up and up. And we plan to provide remote access via MPLS. As I said, it took 2 years to stabilize the 6 locations configurations. So we do not really want to extend the IX, this IX at layer 2, I mean Ethernet anymore. So we plan to extend the access by using MPLS. And this is a joint effort with Japan Telecom, and we are trying to provide MPLS access. And we are investigating the way to avoid ADP hellos, because multicast is not welcomed. And the other things to mention, we will start the test operation in December. We have started test operation in last December, and now we are in evaluation phase for this MPLS remote access. That's all. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Mike and I run an internet exchange point. I'm sorry. Okay, so quick bit of news about what's going on at the links in London. And I've got another one of those huge slide backgrounds as well. These slides were written a couple of weeks ago, and currently we're setting a new traffic record every Monday. We're currently at 36.5 gig per second traffic peak, and that was recorded yesterday. Currently at 140 members. That number's been fairly static because of consolidation, but again, that's relieved by new member prospects and people demerging as well, like Cable and Wireless have gone from having one membership to having more than one again. Trends, we've seen an increase in the number of people taking gig ports and a decrease in 100 meg. I think that's largely due to people liking headroom on their network, or actually needing gig, or a lot of people running broadband, for example. We've seen a pretty sharp increase in the average traffic on gig since in late 2003. It stepped up by sort of twofold as far as the average goes. Like I said, we've still got some consolidation going on in the industry, as everybody's aware. You know, times are still a little bit tough, but we've still got some strong new member prospects, particularly from areas in the market in the UK that that is still developing. We also run a managed PI service. I guess the nearest thing some of you guys are related to is the ICE product that Equinix operate. It's a passive patch panel, ODF with fiber in, and we can easily do cross connects between people. And we've got 22 members of the 140 that participate in that, and some of them use it quite aggressively to do private peering. The beauty of that is we're not pulling a patch cable through for every single cross connect you're doing. We're just doing it through a centralized ODF. So if you decide somebody doesn't meet your peering criteria anymore, you can say to us, okay, unpatch pair 3 from this person and instead repatch it to somebody new who you do want to move to PI, and we can do that really, really quickly. The other things, obviously, V6, it's there, it's native, it's on the same VLAN, it's on the same infrastructure. It doesn't cost you anything, you just have to ask us for V6 addresses. Other things we've also added recently, we've also turned up a route server project. That is an optional thing that some people may choose to do, and that will allow basically multilateral peering. It's the ultimate in peering sluts, really. And anybody who doesn't need to... Oh, screen's gone dim. Is it an issue with the power? Okay, no, just wake it up again. So yeah, where was I? Route server, and that's basically for multilateral peering. It's not policy-based, although people that are participating in that can use communities to affect how the route server redistributes the routes to the other people that use the route server. It is not compulsory to use the route server. The majority of peering across links is still bilateral, but there are some of the smaller members who are interested in having a slightly easier life, so that's what they got. On the technical news, we've upgraded our Extreme platform with the MSM3 recently. This is obviously the third MSM that Extreme have turned out. The key improvement is we've got hitless upgrade and failover between the modules. So again, like Jay was saying about these high availability features that we're looking for, some vendors are starting to deliver them. It doesn't deliver us anything in terms of increased port density on the platform, but they will be adding fun stuff like S-Flow later in the year as well on that platform. So that helps us as far as managing traffic and predicting growth and where we're going to need to improve the network. So what we also do is we now run EAPS on the Extreme network. That's a ring protection mechanism. And the Extreme guys even wrote it up in an informational RFC with all the gory details in. And that basically allows us to heal our 10 gig ring very, very rapidly in the case of any hardware failures or fiber breaks. We've just gone through a first round of evaluating 10 gig hardware for further upgrades. This is actually hands-on evaluation, going out to the vendors and trying to beat on their equipment in the lab. Been over to Foundry and been over to Cisco. Right now we're in negotiations and we haven't actually announced who we're going with yet. A quick slide of how EAPS works, and you've basically got this little ring of switches and you associate one node as being the master and the rest of them are transit nodes. The master sends out health messages around a control VLAN, which it receives on the secondary port. As long as it receives the health messages, it knows the ring's intact, and therefore it will block all the traffic, the live traffic ports on that secondary port to avoid a loop. So it turns the ring into a string. And the nice thing about the Extreme protocol is, as well as sending the health packets around, it also sends link down traps or BPDU, or sorry, not BPDUs, but PDUs back to the master. So if, for example, there is a line break, as there is between switch 3 and switch 4, they will send link down messages, and very, very quickly, within 50 milliseconds usually, the ring will be unblocked on the master, and that will be healed very, very rapidly. It also causes all the intermediate transit switches to flush the FDB, and then they automatically relearn where all the MAC addresses are again. We've been using it now since October, November time, and we've had to actually do some other maintenance work on the Extreme platform in that time, and very few major disruptions are caused by that when we do that, because the ring fails over so quickly, no sessions drop. As far as the 10 gig native platform goes, again, it's the same sort of things that Jay was saying. Yeah, we've been looking at some of the same platforms. We've got participants now that want the ability to attach natively at Gig-E, or 10 gig-E, or maybe they're looking for bundled Gig-E because 10 gig isn't available for their routers at the moment, or they don't want the expense of a 10 gig port. They definitely were looking for integration with the same platform. They didn't want us to go and build more exchanges. So we need to make sure we integrate properly with the existing hardware that we're running. And the model right now is that we'll add 2 new big switches. They'll have, again, the same sort of densities that Jay was talking about, 4 10 gig ports per slot. And upgrade the existing hardware we've got as well. We can then do people on 10 gig directly to the new switches, and we can do 10, 100, 1000, and end by 1000 elsewhere. The reason we want to concentrate all the 10 gig connections on a small number of switches is that we don't want to blow the backbone up as well. So that's an idea, to keep our costs down in that area as well. Dark fiber is relatively cheap around Auckland, and the sites are relatively close together, so it makes far more sense to haul 10 gig customers over dark fiber into the main areas of the exchange with the big switches. As I said, we've not concluded negotiations with the vendors at the moment, and the idea is that the Links members will actually get to hear more about this at our members meeting, which happens next Monday and Tuesday. Finally, we've heard people talking about doing exchanges, ways of actually accessing the exchanges from a wider area. Tom's already related about how MCI intend to extend the maze using MCI's existing infrastructure around the world. What we're doing is we're taking it from a slightly different angle, and these are layer 2 extensions from elsewhere to the exchange. We're definitely not extending the switch fabric out of London ourselves, but if people are looking to come to Links, but maybe they don't need to go and build a POP in London, they don't want to go and buy backhaul, they don't want to co-locate routers somewhere, thousands of miles away from the rest of their operations. It's an initiative to organise efforts with the various carriers that are out there that we already know don't have any issues as far as, don't break the network, don't cause any technical problems. And it also helps link up any prospects who don't want to build out with somebody that we know is stable technically and no problems. There's a URL there, and there's a nice clickable map of all the various places in the world these people serve. And that is it, I think. Yep, that's it. Yeah. The only other thing is there's one other guy here from Links, and that's Richard. He's one of our account managers, and he's sat down at the back of the room, and if you want to wave, he's right at the back in that corner, and he's the guy you want to talk to if you're interested. Cheers.
Great. Chris, you're up next. Come on, load. Just use the arrow buttons down there.
Hi, I'm Christopher Casada from Switchin' Data, and for those of you who don't know, Switchin' Data acquired PAX last year around March, so the company as a whole was known as Switchin' Data, but PAX, for most of you, is the recognized name of the exchanges. Though Switchin' Data has decided to make PAX its product label, so that's what we use PAX for now, to name an exchange. We have recently been going through some turmoil in our engineering department, in the sense that we have added a whole bunch of talented and bright individuals that have minds of their own to add to the collective engineering group at Switchin' Data. The company as a whole is profitable, which in this industry is rare. It's actually the first profitable company I've worked for since 1996 in this industry. It's not making its own money either. This is basically, this presentation is kind of an add-on from a presentation that Stephen Stewart did last year, and in it he had the 11th anniversary of the first interconnection. So since it's been a year, it's now the 12th anniversary of the first interconnection at Palo Alto. Currently, there are over 130 unique peers in Palo Alto. Of those, just roughly over 100 are on the public exchange. The critical mass at Palo Alto basically proved an interesting problem for us, as we decided that the site itself in Palo Alto had itself reached the critical mass in space and power and technology, being the switch. So we've basically distributed that over 5 sites in the Bay Area through our distributed peering model. Currently we run 10 switches in North America, and we offer 10 meg, 100 meg, and gig E, and also a fractional gig. The MetroPax is that distributed peering, and all our sites have IPv6, though currently Palo Alto is the one that's used the most. We also partner with several exchanges up in Seattle, the 6, Pacific Wave, and Los Angeles, LAAP, and Atlanta, SOX, and SURA. And currently we are in the process of interconnecting with others. In our sites with distributed peering, we are currently working on interconnecting our sites in New York and our sites in the Northern Virginia area, though they like to say DC metro area, and Atlanta as well. We are in the process of testing a 10 gig switch, and we will probably be looking at some form of deployment of that this year. And also in the process of building out a rather robust R&D and test lab. There's my information, and if you care to reach me, that's where I'm at. Thanks.
So last but not least, Kyo.
Hi, my name is Akio Sugena from Terrace America. This is the update from the since the last NANOG IX panel. New York peaks 3.3 gig, and the number of members as of this writing is 53. And since last summer, we are getting a lot of inquiries to join NYX, and we have a little bit over 30 plus new cast members in pipeline. So we are reaching about 85 number of members in very shortly. Special new members include the DNS F-root cyber mirror by ISC, and the newcomer is the RIPE Routing Information Service Project from RIPE NCC. This is not a new news, but we extended our switch to 60 Hudson in July last year. And we use the Foundry Big Iron Core. And 100 BSD and GigE is available. And we can reach any suite inside 60 Hudson at a very low cost. So that's the kind of Metro IX concept. And just like the other exchange point operators, we are in process of replacing the current platform. This is based on the traffic estimation from the existing members and the upcoming new 30 members. So I do need the 10 gig Ethernet ports, especially trunk between 25 Broadway and 60 Hudson, and the maybe future customer port. And we've been actually we're going to test a couple of products this month and maybe next month, and we have to make a decision. Also, we actually met a couple of the exchange point operators in Europe who is using kind of new stuff, and I do get the real life information and experience and kind of thing. And in Los Angeles, we just upgrade to support GigE, and again we are getting new customers. We have a little bit over 10 customers in pipeline, and we are making sure East meets West kind of concept. And we do have the DNS F-root cyber mirror, and we do have the availability, reachability to one wheelshare. I think that's all. Thank you much.
So now if anybody has any questions for anyone on the panel, please feel free to come up to the mics.
Bill, you're not allowed to ask questions.
The first thought was for Mike Hughes. You were talking a bit about 10 GigE and the adoption of 10 GigE. My question has to do with the pricing and the economics. Are you finding that it's people with, say, 3 GigE interfaces or 4 GigE interfaces that find that just economically it makes sense at that point to go up to 10 gigi interfaces for a single interface? Or what's the motivation and what are the economics there?
Yeah, of the people that have already spoken to us about taking 10 gigi, it's pretty much the guys that have already got a large number of gigi interfaces and want to aggregate those down, and they've already got routers that are capable of doing 10 gigi. They've already got their own back-end infrastructure that can deliver that sort of capacity. So it's obviously people like broadband MSOs, large carriers, and big content providers. From the content provider side, it's people that need headroom and ability to tolerate spikes.
But where does that break-even point? How many gigis do you think it makes sense financially to replace, say, 3 or 4 gigis with a single 10 gigi interface?
Your numbers are pretty much spot on. The people that have been talking to us have usually got at least 3, if not 4, 10 gigi ports, sometimes more.
Hi, my name is John Todd. I'm with VoiceGlow. It seems like all of you have already a pretty good infrastructure for, layer 3 transport and interconnects. Has there been any discussion that any of you are aware of inside of your own organizations about the future of voice over IP peering and transit type of arrangements, which probably will be coming up in the next year or two? Have any of you considered that as an option at this point?
We've been starting to look at it with some seriousness from a business development perspective and talking to customers and looking at the market. So it's something that pretty early on, but we're spending some time at it.
I'd have to echo the same. I mean, we're spending a lot of time really talking to our participants about it, seeing where they are in terms of what kinds of involvement they would like. For example, there's been some exchanges set up that are just Ethernet fabrics, and there are those who also throw in, obviously, the conversion and the soft switches and so on. So we're looking into it. There is quite a lot of private peering that happens in our facilities for VoIP. Some classic announcements have been made about billions of minutes these days being served by some major backbone players. So we're starting to pay a lot of attention to it.
Ditto for the PACs.
I like that.
Question for Celeste. When did it become a good idea for IXs to sell transport to carriers?
Actually, the reasoning behind what we're doing is we're already doing the National Lambda Rail, and what's pushing it is the research and education community and the touchdowns from some of the research networks that all want to be on this particular thing. So we're being driven not by a commercial concern, but in serving the research community on both sides of the Pacific.
When is when is buying transport not a commercial concern?
Actually, the National Lambda Rail is a partnership between Scenic and Northwest Gigapop, so they're actually going to be running this for other services, so it's not...
Right, those are the sellers. Those are the ones competing with your customers. The question is, why is it not a commercial concern for your customers buying transport? I mean, do you really think that all of the participants at these exchanges feel like paying the cost of transport from a single provider when what they've got right now is a market basis for buying transport if they need it?
Well, I will come back in a year and let you know how this is panned out. I mean, basically, this was driven by something other than what it would be if we were a commercial exchange. I mean, we don't preclude commercial customers or any of those people from being on it, but we're really driven by different sets of things. And if you actually look at the Pacific Wave participants, you're going to see that this is really serving a different group, and we're trying to help people who are touching down in one place to actually access the resources in another one. And like I said, it's being built already, and we're not competing against those core research institutions.
Okay. Think about whether you're actually different.
It's better. So I have a question for Itojun from Dixie. You said that you decided to move from layer 2 because it was fragile. Could you elaborate a little bit? Was it RSTP or is it something else? What did you mean by fragile? You said layer 2 wasn't working anymore and you wanted to move to MPLS, layer 2 over MPLS. So what did you mean by layer 2 being fragile?
So we keep the layer 2 exchange part as is, these 6 locations. And we provide MPLS access additionally. So we do not plan to switch to MPLS. We keep the layer 2 part and we provide MPLS extension as additional services to remote participants. Am I answering your question?
On top of that layer 2 or as an access to that part?
Sorry?
So you provide MPLS on top of that layer 2 or as an access to that core part?
Sorry, I
So
cannot.
do you put MPLS on top of that existing Ethernet GIGI that you have, or it's something outside of that core? When you said MPLS access,
I guess it's outside of the Ethernet. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots, but I want you to have more alcohol before you answer them. No, I don't have any questions for the assembled multitude, and I guess that we are, from this panel perspective, thank you very much for coming up and sharing, and thank you, Celeste, for hosting the panel.